Welcome on in to the NY to MD podcast. Got your host, Kevin Hurt, Brian Sherrard. We got our special guest, our man, Seth Crockett in the hizzle.
What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody?
How's everybody doing today, man? Everybody got their grocery shopping done at 3 a.m. in the morning?
Hey, man, that's how you got to do it, man. That's how you got to do it.
3 a.m., yo. Seth, this dude went shopping at 3 a.m. in the morning.
I couldn't go to sleep last night, so I was like, you know what, man, let me just knock it out. Let me just go and knock it out right
now. like my mom used to say, nothing good happens at 3 a.m. in the morning. You'd be going out getting your Lucky Charms at 3 a.m.
Oh man, but no, man, just everything's pretty good considering, man. So
yeah,
you know,
that's good. That's all that matters. That's all that matters, man. So, Seth, sir, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
It's very NBA heavy. Of course, we will talk about Tiger and Phil and Tom and Peyton tomorrow. But let's just get right to it because I think we're going to spend a lot of time on this. The Last Dance episodes 9 and 10 were this past Sunday. A lot of people have a lot of opinions on it. A lot of people hurt. A lot of people hurt throughout the whole thing. Some surprised people to me as well. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, B, we can let our guest start off first, and then we can chime in. So, give me your thoughts on just how you thought about the whole episode, the whole Last Dance series.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed The Last Dance. Big Jordan fan, of course. This is the era of basketball that I grew up in, and it was great to relive the 1998 season and by contrast, the 96, the 97 and earlier years. Nothing better than hearing about Michael Jordan from Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has great charisma, great camera presence. He always has, especially since coming into his own in the NBA. And I think the documentary series as a whole did a great job at retelling the story of the relationships, essentially, that involve the Chicago Bulls, especially during their championship years. It's not going to please everybody. I love the fact that Michael Jordan, if nothing else, is convicted by I'm not here to please everybody. So I thought it was an honest take. I thought it was exactly Michael. For those people that we about to talk about who were hurt. Don't know what to tell you. You played with the man for years and years, and I think you thought that he was going to become a totally different person, and you're shocked to find out that he's not. And so, okay, but I enjoyed it overall. I thought it was well done, and one of the greatest things I took away from it, just kind of reminded me back to on a much smaller scale, playing for a team, and just the importance of the relationships being preserved during the duration of the season. It is extremely difficult to reach a goal. And we're talking about the people at the highest level within their field in the NBA, and of course the greatest of all time, in my opinion, and pushing his teammates to that same standard. So it was just incredible to watch.
Yeah, right. Go ahead, B. Follow that up since I let the fans go first.
No, I thought it was well done. When initially I wasn't too excited about it because I was like, I feel like I know this, I love Michael Jordan, as you know, Hurt. Michael Jordan's the reason why I started watching basketball. I was nothing but baseball. was nothing but baseball. Michael came along. I was like, man, this dude is awesome. So that's what got me into basketball. It, like you said, Seth, it was good reliving it. I like how they did it. I like how they jumped from, how they started in 98, talking about the 97, 98 team, but then jumped around to, jumped around to the past, go over each of the Bulls, championship seasons, and even before they started winning, you're showing how Michael developed into a winner. I like that. I like how they did the backstories of the key players of the Bulls team, so that was good. So yeah, it was really good. It was really well done. Like you said, anytime you get a chance to actually have Jordan talk about this, and I know it's getting criticism like, hey, this isn't a true documentary. But anytime, like you said, you get the opportunity to interview Jordan for hours and to see the footage, the behind the scenes footage of the practices and locker room stuff and all that stuff, you got to jump on the opportunity, man, and let the girls talk about this stuff. So it was good. I'm so glad I watched it though, because there was just stuff A, I didn't know, or B, I forgot. And just some really interesting stories. And I did forget a lot of the drama that went into that last year, man. I totally forgot. I totally forgot about Pippen and the fact that he was so underpaid. I totally forgot about those stories. But it was good, man. It was good. I remember thinking, do we really need 10 episodes to tell the story? But I found myself like, man, I wish there was more episodes. So,
likewise.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I do have some criticisms, but I'll get into those in a couple minutes.
Well, we about to get to criticisms right now with my man Kevin Hurd about the smash down the empire of Michael Jordan. So go have at it.
Let me go ahead and get in there like that pizza got to his stomach. No, I was the one that was excited. The funny thing is, I was the one that was excited about it, and I had to tell Brian about it. I know why I want to do this, Hurt. I really this. I saw this whole thing. I was like, dude, this is different. I was excited for it because
you were more excited about it than me.
I like history. I'm a history guy. There's things that we know about that we just see, but back then it's not like it is now. There was social media, all that stuff. We know everybody's business now. Back then, there's rumors and so first of all, think about it. That was supposedly the flu game, and then it became this last episode. Now it's the food poisoning game, supposedly. You know what I mean? But it's so many intricacies and relationships. Jerry Krause was a big thing. It was so many things that I wasn't even sure about. But of course, that whole time I hated every existence of everybody on that team. But now believe me, that was what changed it as much. Believe me, this was on the Dallas Cowboys. I couldn't even watch it. But I can go back and I can still respect who he is as a great player and what he put out there, and Phil and how Phil put everything together, and with Scotty and with Horace and with Dennis, and how hard it was to rein Dennis in with so many good points. And 10 episodes was perfect. I think 10 because it covered everything, to the baseball, to the stuff that happened to his dad, to the politics. It literally covered every gamut of that whole, even just the last season, but just all their championships. And I found that to be entertaining as well. Just the fact that it covered the first one to the last one. So I really actually enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah. All right. So here's
my your criticisms.
Well, here's my first question. Get episode 9. Pizzagate. Are y'all buying Pizzagate? Because I'm not buying that one, Seth. I'm sorry, man.
So back in 98, or back in 98, the year after the game happened, like Hurt said, social media and all that stuff went around. All we really had was a very limited microcosm to be able to look into stuff like this, like we do now. But back then in 98, a story had already come out stating that, he didn't have the flu more than he was food poisoned. I have the game on tape, the flu game on tape still.
Okay.
I watched it about 7 years ago before I completely chucked the VHS and the VHS console. And during the broadcast, Marv Albert is heard saying that, Michael Jordan not feeling well, throwing up all night, believed to be food poisoning. So it was already established going into the game that it was believed he had food poisoning. Now, do I believe his trainer's account that it was 5 guys or was it 3 guys? I don't know, but I do think that the Utah pizza place, most likely did something to try to doctor the pizza, and it didn't work. And I'm sure if we were to dig deeper into the story, the people who delivered the pizza were ultimately fired because the mission was not accomplished. You were supposed to rehabilitate Michael Jordan. What you did was create a legend, create a mythos now that's larger than life. We didn't get any more business out of this, so you're fired. That's how I think the story actually ends. That's just me, though.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that one. I remember that game. I remember he looked sick as like there's no doubt something was wrong with him. I mean, you could tell by the look in his eyes. You could just tell the way he looked that night.
Yeah.
What I see, and I just remember them saying like flu-like symptoms. That's all I remember. I remember them saying flu-like symptoms. I remember them saying that. But the whole pizza thing, because I'm thinking about this, like 5 guys came to his room to deliver pizza. That don't sound right to me. And then I'm like, okay, if you wanted to do something to the pizza, like what would you do to the pizza? I don't know. I have a hard. I'm not buying the pizza thing. I know something was wrong with him. Maybe it was, but I don't know. Because I just don't see. I guess y'all remember hearing about that. I don't remember hearing about food poisoning at all.
Well, I think the thing I will say to it is the reason why I'm even more so inclined to believe it's the food poisoning from a pizza is because to me, it doesn't serve any purpose for Michael Jordan to go back and erase the flu game. The flu game has taken on a life of its own. They can create a DVD just called The Flu Game. It doesn't have the same ring, the food poisoning game. It's a hyphen in there now. It's extra letters in there now. It just doesn't sound the same. So I don't think that there's anything that Jordan, with all the things he creates in his mind, I don't think that that's something he created. The only thing where I have a question is Tim, his trainer. I don't know if it was 5 guys or if it was just 2. Whoever it was, they were essentially fired the following day when the Jazz, when they saw the score and they had lost. So that's all I do know that happened.
All right. Hurt, are you buying Pizzagate?
I really just don't care. Honestly, whatever happened wasn't enough. So that just kind of bothered me.
I think Doc said it best. So
it depends on the toppings. Yeah. I mean, we don't know. I mean, what if we got pineapple? Anchovies? Who knows? Because he ate the whole pizza by himself. Don't forget, he ate.
Yeah, now I was kind of. I mean, on that one, I was kind of like, I don't know if Mike ate the whole pizza or what's going on, but
again, no matter what happens, it's a story. He overcame whatever was wrong with him, and it wasn't enough kryptonite in there to basically, So. And, to me, that whole thing, I don't care what you call it. He overcame. Obviously, there was something wrong with him.
Oh, no doubt.
And he overcame it, and he played all those minutes, and they still won the game. So, and no matter what, you still got to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, What's your second question? Let's get to that.
Well, and you thought I was crazy when I texted you this when we were watching. But I'm not buying the whole motivation because Karl Malone won the MVP. And the only reason why I'm not is because you're already in the I feel like what more motivation do you need? Like you're trying to win. You're in the finals. Is that really burning you up? Like I understand, like when you're playing the Wizards or the Bullets in the middle of the season and you need some motivation and you make up the whole Bradford Smith stuff. Like I get that.
You don't need motivation just to beat the Wizards or some garbage teams. You just wake up.
Let me just say this real quick, if you don't mind. So it's funny you say that, Brian, because my best friend E, leading into this series, leading into that episode, I text E like an hour and a half before the episode started. I said, man, I can't wait till they get to the 1997 season. And Mike admits that he was mad that Karl Malone was the MVP. And so when they get to this part and they talk about the motivation, I said, yeah, that makes sense. That lines up with the Michael Jordan thinking that who are you to deem another person an MVP? And of course, you know, us who watched this whole season as it played out, I remember the MVP ceremony, and I was, as the Jazz were in the Western Conference Finals, I think it was. And I'm just saying to myself, like, I mean, this whole thing is fraudulent. I guess, you know, you're just tired of giving Michael the MVP, so give it to Karl Malone, who's a great player. But if the 97 and 98 finals proved anything at all, it was that they made the wrong choice in giving Karl Malone the MVP. And I do think that Jordan tried to personally go out. I mean, here's a man who went out day before game 1 of the 92 finals. A random article compares Clyde Drexler's and Michael Jordan. And so he turns to Magic Johnson and says, you know, I'm going to kill him, right? This is his mindset. So I am not lost on believing that as soon as he got a win, well, you know, Karl Malone won the MVP. Oh, that's y'all MVP? All right. I'm going to show y'all the MVP. Got you. No problem. That's his mind. That's his mindset. Whether it's justified, whether it's a narrative he created or not, I do believe that motivated him even more to smash down on the Jazz, which was, as to Hurt's point, I mean, it was already going to happen. Whether that was the motivation, whether he wanted to draw up the motivation, well, you know, John Stockton's wearing the number 12, and 12 is almost half of 23, and so who knows? But I mean, he'll create something, you know.
Okay. Could have been. Yeah, I was when you text me that and you don't believe it. This is again, we're talking about Captain Petty here. Okay. So he finds the littlest slight, whether it's made up or not, and turns it into a novel in his head.
Yeah. What more motivation do you need?
But it doesn't matter if you're in the finals. It's still more, I'm going to push this further. Not only am I in the finals, but you're deeming him better than me, and we're in the finals? No, that ain't going to happen. And that's who he was. That's who he was. That's who he is. Because he has not changed. He's still the same person.
Yeah,
this series tells you anything, that it shows that he hasn't changed, because I think this whole series is him just telling everybody else, you know what? I'm still the GOAT. I'm still better than all y'all.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think for those who were hoping that Michael Jordan was going to turn into AC Green, I hate the fact that your bubble got burst, but he's not going to radically change. Maybe it's the thing with when Kobe, who had the same exact mindset during his playing days. Maybe it's the fact that after some time when Kobe retired, he definitely softened up in a lot of ways and really ingratiated himself back into the NBA community amongst his peers, and was more of a mentor. And Mike is not really that person, at least outwardly. It's more of a behind the scenes if it is happening. Yeah. Maybe that's why people were hoping and thinking to themselves like, "Hey, why is he so petty still? Or why is he so competitive still?" But this is the unique drive of a person like this. I'm not saying it's right, but I do think it is true in who he is. It is exactly to the T of who I would have been surprised and probably turned off if Michael Jordan would have got on there like, the Karl Malone MVP thing didn't really bother me. That's the answer that he gave to NBC when they asked him during the finals. It doesn't bother me. Karl's a great player and blah blah. Those are Michael Jordan answers, and I get that, but the real Michael Jordan, says, like he said to Magic Johnson, I'm gonna kill him, right? Yeah. Why would y'all ever compare Clyde? And Clyde's a great player. That's what he said. Clyde's a great player, but I'm gonna go out here and kill him.
That's true, but I don't think. Well, maybe it's different for you guys. This is validation of who he is and who I've always known him to be. To me, this whole. The guy who flew in the people who spited him during his high school days to talk about him. Like, this is the guy. He's never changed. And the documentary just, put that in cement concrete, buried it 10 feet under. It's just who he is. Like, he's just never going to change. So that whole thing, I never thought I would see a different side to him like that. I just knew that's who he's always going to be, to stop talking to Charles or, it was Horace did it, whatever. And just He's so concrete in everything. I guess it's the little things about how close he was to that security guard. The little stories like that you didn't, that kind of humanize him a little bit, and not make him this, Sith Lord that he really is.
Yeah,
because he's nothing but he's really just nothing, but he draws his power from the dark side. Obviously, you can tell that. He is a Sith Lord. Scotty is his apprentice. All the other guys were like the stormtroopers. It all goes in the Star Wars. Man. Even when he talks, he's got his little eyes and the cigars, and he just looks like Darth Michael. He just really just the evilness of it. You can just see like he draws his power from that side of the Force.
I just think that he is a unique competitor, and he's not unlike Muhammad Ali and some other contemporaries in their own sports, in that their confidence level is unparalleled, and their determination and work ethic unparalleled. But he just seems to take it to another max, because even in his post-playing career, it's like he's still playing, because he's not like Muhammad Ali and those others in that sense that they begin to soften their stance. They don't put on as much for the camera, which indicates that Jordan has always been true to who he is. I love him or hate him personally. I do respect that he is. This is the same reason why I respect Charles Barkley. I was never I wasn't always a Charles Barkley fan during his playing days. But one thing I'll say about Charles Barkley to this day, I respect him. Because just like Jordan, and this is why they always fight, he's concrete. He says something, that's his opinion. I don't have to apologize for it. I wrote a whole book about me not apologizing for being who I am, a large, educated black man from the South. And I respect that. And Jordan is of that same cloth of, I'm just not going to change, and I don't have to be concerned with you not liking me. One of his favorite quotes, and I text E as soon as it happened, he said, people are going to look at this and think he's not a nice guy. He's probably a tyrant. That's you, because you never won anything. I fell off the couch cracking up. I said, that quote right there, if you played against Jordan, it hurts you to your heart. You probably turned off The Last Dance right there. You went to bed, covers over your face, because you were hoping that he wouldn't have that kind of a demonstrative stance. But he's not apologetic about what he did or what he said. And Reggie Miller came out recently, just a few days ago, and said he shouldn't apologize for anything he did that it took the win.
You gotta be who you are.
Yeah.
If you're Captain Petty, you're Captain Petty.
Yeah, that's just
not all of us, or like I always tell Brian, between the two of us, since I've known him for so long, like Brian's the nice guy. He cares about everybody. I don't care. I'm just not. I don't need to be bothered with certain people or certain things. If I don't like something, I say I don't like it. Now I have reasons for it, and just like I never liked Jordan. I didn't feel like he was just that dude, and not because he killed the Knicks all the time, but I just never. So certain players and certain people like you guys, you just look at him and say, you know what, the way he does stuff, I really like how he goes about his business or how he does everything. And that's how LeBron won me over for some reason. I didn't like him when he came out of high school. Brian knows that. We were both like, why is this dude on ESPN from St. Michael, St. Vincent? Where the heck is that? Why is he on TV? Who cares? And then he beat the Wizards a couple times. I still didn't like him.
Right.
And then for some reason, I don't know what happened. I'm like, this LBJ guy's pretty. He's an okay dude. I mean, the dude's a Cowboys fan too, and I still like him. But you gravitate. But Michael is a brand. He is a brand. He is bigger than his whole. He's bigger than his sport. He's his own entity. He's his own planet. Mike's his own planet. So in order to be that, you don't waver. You're going to be yourself, and people are going to just take you for who you are. He's never been anything different than just Michael, and that's. And I'm fine by that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I have a 2-part question now.
Man, look at it. Were you the interviewer today? Yes, Lord. Okay, go ahead. What you got?
So after watching the whole thing, this is a question that popped up in my head. Ultimately, was Jerry Krause, was he right? And the second part to that is, if the team stayed intact, would they have won number 7?
Let me start with Jerry Krause. Let me say that as a young kid watching all of this go down, 98, I was in the 8th grade, and limited intellect on how things work. So at the time, I was furious as a Bulls fan, and I just didn't understand it. Going forward, and even before the documentary, and of course since The Last Dance, I don't think Krause holistically is the enemy that everyone paints him to be. But I'm also saying that while not having to be around him or work under him, and I think it's a fair assessment of me to say that I will never really be able to speak adequately to what the players and Phil Jackson felt, because they dealt with it every day. And it's something different when you're working under somebody and you're having dinner with them and they're saying one thing, and then the next day you pick up the paper and it's something totally different about you in that article. So that's something different. But Jerry Krause wasn't, the light wasn't shined upon him positively. I don't think he was an evil person. I do think that he deserves a lot of credit for what he did assemble. I think he made some missteps. I think, as the documentary said about him, and I do believe the same is true about Horace Grant, that it is difficult to be under the bright lights and the burning light of Michael Jordan and his brand, and really the Chicago Bulls. And we speak a good game a lot of times. I know I do, about not wanting credit all the time, and you don't need to be congratulated for your hard efforts, and hard work is its own reward. And we know those cliches, but sometimes when you're doing a lot of things and people are not recognizing you, and at the same time berating you, it'll grate on you. Yeah. And I think that's maybe what happened to Jerry Krause. And in terms of them winning another championship, again, as an 8th grader, I would have loved to see them keep going. I believe in my heart of hearts that they could, but I do also believe now, looking back and a little bit wiser, that everything has its time. I think as Phil Jackson said, that I read recently about talking about 98, that it was time. Jerry Reinsdorf actually called him up right before the 99 lockout began. Called him up, and he first called Michael, told Michael, "Hey, let me try one more time to reach out to Phil, see if we can get this thing going. I'm gonna go above Krause's head." So Michael was like, "All right, fine. If you can get Phil, I'll be back." He calls Phil. Phil says, "It's time." And I think it was time. Just looking at the documentary, I think it cemented that it was definitely time. It was the perfect time for things to end. They probably, just because you have Michael Jordan, they probably could have grinded it out and really nearly killed themselves and won another championship, especially in the lockout season. But I just do think holistically it was time. It was time for it to end right there, so that it wouldn't end on a sour note. So you remember Phil Jackson's last season with the Lakers and how that ended. And I had previously said the year before that, Phil, I think it's time. And the Lakers got into the playoffs and got swept. They got swept and destroyed in that Mavericks series where people were getting ejected left and right. So sometimes you just got to know when it's time, and I think it was time right there.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, back then I was like, what are they doing? But I think just like you said, I think it was the right time. I forget about the lockout season. The next season, I think they would have made it to the finals. I'm not convinced they would have beat the Spurs, though, man. I don't know. Maybe, like you said, maybe they could have grinded to. See, I think they could have grinded their way to the finals. But man, that Spurs team was pretty good, man. I don't know. I think to go out 6-0, man, I think was perfect. You had the two three-peats. I think it was good. But I didn't realize Rodman was he would have been 38, 39 if he had come back.
Yeah. And he did come back for the Lakers, and he was just not anything close to Dennis Rodman.
I think he only played. I think he only played in maybe 12 games or so. I mean, he wasn't. Yeah.
LA is way too close to Las Vegas.
This is true. This is true.
He's not going to be the same dude. It was. Well, think about it. We're sitting here talking about it now. So obviously, ending it where they did and not having that team lose, there's this myth of could they or couldn't have. You get what I'm saying? I'm glad. I mean, Seth didn't have to just clock out on us like that. I mean, I don't know where he went to. I mean, I was just going to talk about how good it was that the Knicks made the finals the next year. And I was way more interested in them making the finals than the Bulls going again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, oh, you're back. I was sitting here. I'm like, man, he's gonna not like what I had to say about.
Oh
Jordan.
no. My dog was outside.
Still, it's been like 40 minutes. This guys didn't run away. So no, it was like I said. There is it's funny because the older we get, the more we realize certain things do need to come to an end.
Yeah.
And going through that documentary, and of course, not being a fan, I'm happy it stopped. Very happy. That next season, I don't know if because that young Spurs team was something to deal with. Popovich, totally different monster. The NBA started to change a little bit. The 8th seeded Knicks made the finals, so yeah. That was I was hoping to see a parade, and that never happened. But it was time for them. It was time for them because. Every other team, the Pistons got swept out. The Celtics got swept out.
Yeah.
That didn't happen to the Bulls.
Yeah.
So they had that. We ended on top. It's like John Elway. I got my Super Bowls. Holla if you hear me. I'm out. And walk out the door. So the next year being somebody else's backup quarterback.
Yeah.
You got your chip. I'm done. I'm out. Together we can come back separately. Scotty got traded. Everybody went their separate ways, and they started over again. So it was the perfect time for them to stop, and I was very happy that they did. Personally, yes.
All right. All right.
But, you got another question?
Well, this was my last question, but it's the
Barbara Walters.
No. Well, like I said, after this was done, I found myself wanting more. So then I got to thinking, all right. What's the next documentary I would want to see? But with the caveat that if you could know like the full truth, if there was a documentary that come out where you knew this was the absolute truth, right? That was being told, like what would you want to see? And I was just thinking, man, what
just sports wise?
Yeah, no, this is just sports wise. Now it's funny because ESPN, they're about to do the 30 for 30 for Lance.
Oh man, I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
so I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, so I'm really curious. Although on the trailer he talks about his truth, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, the guy can't wait for his truth.
Well, I was listening to an interview.
I'm like, oh boy.
No, but I was listening to the interview this morning about the person who put it together, and they said Lance did not like how it came out. So obviously he's going to be pretty truthful. He's not going to come out, looking like Scottie Pippen in this. So So he's going to probably have some Scottie Pippen hurt feelings in this thing.
But are there any sports docs that you would want to see? Like if you can know the truth about.
The only two that I can think of would be Bill Belichick and Tiger Woods, because they're two reserved people who play things close to the chest. Two separate reasons to branch off on that, but they're two reserved individuals who you really don't know a whole lot about. One thing that's underrated. Speaking of 30 for 30 hurt, the Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells 30 for 30 was great.
Yeah,
and it really gave me an interesting look into. I mean, you want to talk about a Sith Lord? That's Belichick. That guy is
Belichick is Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah. I mean, really. I mean, he. And I'm not a Patriots fan on any level, but to the point that you made about Michael Jordan, even when you try to hate greatness, you have to accept the person is great. They're the best at what they do. and you not liking it is not going to stop it, so
not at all. Not at all.
And I would love to see more of the inside track of Bill Belichick, especially what his true thoughts are when he has to let go of players and things like that. And for Tiger, I mean, I think the reasons are obvious. I've always been a Tiger fan. He is who introduced me to golf, or really, I'm sorry, not introduced me, but really gave me the courage to start playing golf. And I would love to see more of his thoughts, really specifically about the downturn and how he came. I know a good amount now about his redemption story, and that's easier to talk about, but I know it's probably with great stress and difficulty that he would be able to open up and really talk about those dark years, especially being away from the sport and just kind of having all of media, all of humanity, it seemed like, trying to pile on you. And he does a great job in his media tours. And when he speaks, he does not come off as brash or anything like that. He doesn't really get questions about that. And I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but I would love to see the two of them have a behind the scenes documentary. Because I also believe, just like the Jordan thing, it would not change my opinion of those two individuals very much,
Right. What about you, Hurt?
Well, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I would like to go back to the 80s, Miami Hurricanes, Florida State Seminoles teams. Behind the Deion Sanders, the Michael Irvins, I'm a college football fan, first and foremost. And the behind the scenes of just the recruiting wars, just getting those boys in Miami. And just imagine just having all of them come back for like how they talk about the rivalry and how close somebody was to going to Miami, or how close somebody was close to going to Florida State or that other school in Florida, that reptile. Just because there's just a lot of stuff went on. I know they got into a little bit for 30 for 30, the convicts versus the Catholics, and stuff like that. But just behind Jimmy Johnson, just everything. Just anything college football. Give me college football, and I'm there for it. So that's for me from the amateur side of things.
Yeah.
But professional side, oh man, I would probably have to say I would really want to get into the truth behind the 1986 Mets team. Just Doc Gooden not showing up for the parade. I don't know Doc and Daryl, but just everybody and how they handled that whole season. It's just and again, it's one of my favorite memories. I was 10 when they last won a World Series. So just going through that whole season, just because that would well up. I guess like you guys watching those championships. When it comes to my professional teams, it's been a long time. So I would like to go back and, relive those moments. Yeah. So that I would definitely want to go back and see them.
Okay. Well, what you got? It's funny, just like you said, definitely Tiger Woods, and not so much Bill Belichick, but the Patriots. I want to know the truth behind Spygate. I want to know the truth behind the I want to know the truth behind why Malcolm Butler got benched during the Super Bowl. Like, if there could be a documentary which told the truth with all these Patriot scandals. Oh, and also Cincinnati Bengals sideline gate.
Yeah.
That's what I want, a documentary to expose the Patriots for the cheaters that they are. They're great. Belichick is great. Don't get me wrong. But I really want to know, like, what went down. I want to know that line. Do they actually go over the line? Is it somebody just give us the truth behind all this stuff? But really, that Malcolm Butler stuff is amazing. Like, we don't know nothing. Even to this day, what's it like 5 years later or whatever? We still don't know. He doesn't say anything. Of course, nothing's coming from the Patriots camp. So it's just those Patriot scandals. That's what I want to see a doc. If I know I can find out the truth, that's what I want to know. And like you said, of course, Tiger Woods, because I mean, hey, it's Tiger Woods. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, as private as Tiger is, I don't know. Maybe we'll eventually, because I mean, we honestly probably didn't think we would see anything about Michael.
Yeah, I definitely.
Private as he is, and he, came out with this, so hopefully that could happen with Tiger. Yeah. That would be. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to watch that. Just like I'm going to love watching this Lance Armstrong. I cannot wait, because this Armstrong thing is huge.
Yeah, man.
Dude, just growing up, and everybody's like, man, he fought cancer. And the last thing anyone would think about, he was doing what? And this dude literally kind of fell off the face of the earth or the Alps.
Not only that, but as far as his defiance.
Yeah, that's the thing that killed me, man. The defiance.
He's usually defiant about the whole thing too.
Yeah.
But I heard that's his personality type. Like, they really get into his personality, and yeah, I can't wait for that.
Well, I can tell you what I don't want to see, and that is an ESPN produced 9-part documentary on Tom Brady and the Patriots championships. That will not. I will not be watching that one.
Why not?
I don't want to see the ESPN 10-part documentary on the number 2 all-time player of all time, LeBron James, and all praise to LeBron a la James. Those people who are watching this podcast and are right now putting a big X over my face on screen, or
No, I'm just about to mute your mic. Go ahead. I can't hear you. What'd you say? Huh? Hello. So let's talk about these top 74 players that ESPN came up with for the 74 years the NBA has been around. Because we obviously are getting into it now. Oh my God. So some people have a problem with number 2. I have a problem with wherever Scottie Pippen is.
I just want to start this conversation.
What number was Scottie, Brian?
He's 21.
21.
Oh, okay.
One, they know nothing. There's no way in the history of basketball that Scottie Pippen's number 21. I don't care what you use as your metric.
I would say that's accurate. I would say that he's not the number 21 player of all time. I would have him lower on the list. I think so. Here's my motivation for the Scottie Pippen thing. ESPN is, they've got an addiction to narratives, and Brian will tell you the only thing I trust off of ESPN is, pardon the interruption, because you have 2 older guys who've been there for a long time who can say the truth and not get punished by ESPN. Yep. That's why they say what they say about ABC, ESPN, and etc. And there's no blowback.
I don't trust Wilbon as much though.
I trust Wilbon because Wilbon will give it to you.
You would trust Wilbon.
Because he's a Jordan fan. But
he's from Chicago. And
let me say this about Wilbon.
He always says Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
I'm gonna trust Wilbon over the people who they have propped up like Stephen A. and things like that. The only other person on ESPN that I trust at this point is Louis Riddick. Who's an analyst for the NFL. But they did this Scottie Pippen thing as a way to. I mean, Scottie Pippen works for ESPN. I mean, they're trying to undo the narrative of Scottie Pippen being disrespected, which he has been in the past. People talk about Scottie Pippen in a way to kind of undermine the fact that Scottie Pippen was a great player and that for years in the NBA, or whatever number of years you say it is, there is a plural. For years, he was the number 2 player in the NBA. And so people try to discredit that. And I think ESPN is trying to say, hey, Scottie, let's throw you a bone. You work for us. We're not going to, create an article and make more controversy in your life. You're the number 21 player of all. I mean, we know that's ludicrous. We know by all metrics, by all standards, and I love Scottie, but that is ludicrous to suggest that Scottie Pippen is the number 21 player of all time. Just as ludicrous as LeBron James at this point being the number 2 player of all time. And I like LeBron a lot. And I don't have any axe to grind against the man, but no, sure? he's above Kareem and Wilt, and it just seems like
no one even counts Wilt. What does Wilt come into anything?
I don't know.
Jalen Rose. I mean, what are you talking about, Wilt?
I don't know. Maybe I think for me. Maybe I am for a prisoner of the moment kind of thing with LeBron, similar to Kobe. With Kobe, when he was playing, I was doing everything I could to not give him credit, which is shame on me. because since his playing days ended, and even before he passed, I have to be the first one to acknowledge, as much as I hated when he was beating the Blazers and I wanted the Blazers to win, as much as I hated when he was beating the Kings and I wanted them to win, Kobe Bryant was great. Kobe Bryant was excellent. Kobe Bryant was a mastermind on and off the court. Kobe Bryant was the closest thing you will ever see to Michael Jordan. For those who didn't see Michael Jordan really playing during his career, the closest thing that you'll ever see to that is Kobe Bryant, and it's extremely close, almost scarily so. And I personally prefer the player of Kobe Bryant in his prime to LeBron, which is not a slight to LeBron. They're both great players, but I just think when I look at that list and I see Kobe all the way back at like 9 or whatever he was, and LeBron at 2, and I'm just kind of like, man, I mean, I know we gotta, bend the knee and make sure that we shout all praises due and with a joyful noise for LeBron James, and that's all fine and good on ESPN, which is a LeBron James subsidiary apparently, but man, I mean, number 2.
No, apparently it's not, because there's a lot of people on there like Paul Pierce. I'm
not going to go to the Paul Pierce level. There. Paul Pierce is out here jumping out windows talking about LeBron's not even in the top 5. Oh, okay. If you say that,
you might not even have LeBron in his top 10.
Yeah, that's where I'm just kind of like, all right,
top 5 is like 4 Lakers and a Celtic.
Come on, Paul.
No, but go ahead, B.
I was just gonna say I don't mind LeBron being at number 2. That doesn't bother me as much. To me, you can make the argument that he's number 2. He's still, his career is still going on.
Yeah,
the only reason why it doesn't bother me because he's a great all around player who
absolutely.
Will he go to 9 straight finals?
Yep,
is that right? 1-3. I mean, he has a losing record in the finals, but man, 9 straight.
Yeah.
So if you want to put him in number 4, I don't. That doesn't really. I mean, if you want to put him in number 2, that doesn't really bother me as much because, what do we hear all the time anyway? MJ LeBron is
right.
Like you said, well, I don't know where Kobe went out of the conversation, but it's always the MJ versus LeBron. It seems like it's always that comparison anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't that one doesn't really bother me as much. Kobe being number 9, I think he needs to be further up.
Yeah, I mean this is a I know I'm dominating this topic, so I apologize, y'all. But
listen, you're the guest.
I mean this is
that's fine, and it's live, so everybody's understanding how crazy you are.
I mean I see Magic number 5.
Okay,
and when you talk to people who are actually from LA and who are like real Lakers fans, they will die on the sword of Magic Johnson is the greatest Laker of all time, and I'm willing to concede that. I'm with that, and Kobe Bryant himself, I think, conceded that, and I'm fine with that. But then just to, so you got Magic at 5, and then LeBron is all the way up above him.
Yeah.
Again, Brian, I think you make a good point. Don't let this be perceived rather as I don't like LeBron. I love watching LeBron. LeBron's an excellent player, and you can definitely make a real argument of him being number 2. This isn't some randomized argument here where you're taking Antoine Carr from the Utah Jazz and saying he's the number 2 player. Though this is legitimate stuff. I get it. But I guess I'm just looking at the list overall. And the problem with the list, to me, as I scan through it, is what criteria is used to determine this? Wilt is the number 6 greatest player of all time. And okay. Wilt is number 6 and that's fine. And then, pretty much you're saying that under him is Larry Bird. I'm fine. I'm seeing these people in the top 10. They're all great players. Some of whom are my favorite players of all time. I see Timmy on there, and I think Timmy is definitely
what number is Tim Duncan?
I think Timmy is number 8. Yep.
He's number 8. Okay. See, to me, that's about right for him.
But Jalen Rose had him in his top 5, and I'm like, as much as I like basic fundamentals.
But like Seth is saying, what's the criteria? Because if you look at his numbers and his accomplishments,
I think that's my biggest problem with this list as I scan through it. I'm just so confused about the criteria. I see.
Well, how about forget that? But what would be your criteria? Like, so say if it's our personal list, because everything's subjective. They could go by, I don't know, whatever they feel like everybody changes. It could be championships tomorrow, or it could be overall skills the next day. But if you're making your list, what would your top 5 be?
I think some of the criteria that I want to include, of course, is their personal statistics. So of course, team success, of course, even go as far as championships won, MVPs, personal accolades, of course, impact to the game should be one.
Yep.
Not off the court, but legacy beyond their career. Should be a part of it as well, and I don't know if those latter two were even introduced into this, and if they were, then okay, and then maybe my question then into ESPN is, well, what is your definition of impact of the game? Because I see Dikembe Mutombo made this list, and Dikembe, a fine human being. Shout outs to anybody who's watching who loves Dikembe Mutombo, great player. If you were to tell me he's the like one of the number 74 greatest players of all time, I don't know. I feel like over the past 5 years, I could probably name, just from the past 5 years of basketball, 25 players that are better than Dikembe Mutombo. So I don't know what this criteria is, you know. And Alex English was like way in the back, you know. Dwayne Wade. No, let me not go to Wade. Let me go to what we started before we went on air. Christopher Paul. Now,
I really thought you were about to drop his middle name. I don't even know his middle name. I just felt like Christopher Anthony Paul. You just went whole government on him.
I'm a big fan of Chris Paul going back to his college days for a lot of reasons. I know he's not everyone's favorite teammate, and then that's fine. But for Chris Paul to make the list at number 40, I just feel like, as much as I try to defend Chris Paul, I cannot defend Chris Paul, the number 40th greatest player of all time. His impact to the game, marginal. His legacy, yet to be determined, as he has not yet retired, but so far, one of the all-time great point guards to never win a championship and to never really make it far in a playoff series. Historically has been hurt. Again, you can't help if you get hurt, but I can't also look at you being hurt all the time and say, well, when you were healthy, you know, you were like the number 40th greatest player of all time. Because if that's the criteria, is Penny Hardaway above Chris Paul? Is Grant Hill on this list above? Chris Paul, maybe he'll shock the world and come back and lights out for OKC if the season resumes, or if they play next season and they win the championship. But I think the window is closed. He's going to retire without a ring. And I can't look someone in the eye as a Chris Paul supporter and try to make an argument that Chris Paul is the number 40 greatest player of all time. The list for greatest 50th players, remember, came out in 1997. You know, I watched that ceremony live as it happened. So you're telling me all these years later, Chris Paul has edged his way into that list, the upper echelon of the NBA.
The crazy thing was, I had an issue with Scotty being in top 50. I was just like, okay, as time went by, I kind of like, okay, top 50. He ain't 21.
Well, talk to me about this, because you're a Knicks fan. Talk to me about this numbers 37, Patrick Ewing.
Well, growing up in New York, my mom being a Knicks fan, Patrick is one of the greatest Knicks of all time. But of course, unfortunately, he never won a championship, and the Knicks haven't won one in my lifetime. So it's hard. Now, you could probably name all the great Knicks. Phil Jackson is one of them, honestly. Well, he won a championship for Knicks.
Let me name one who he is better than, according to ESPN, and that is Walt Frazier. Number 39.
Yeah, but I didn't see Walt Frazier play. Again, I can call my mom and I'll report on next week's show what she says. I'm like, Mom, who are you taking, Walt Frazier or Patrick Ewing? And she'll probably say John Starks. She loved herself some John Starks. But Patrick was, the frozen envelope. He was the guy most harmed by Michael Jordan. And so this put him there ahead of Walt. People don't know who Walt Clyde Frazier is mostly on this list. They haven't seen him play. Yeah. They look at the highlights. They can see how great him and Earl the Pearl Monroe were. But if I was to rate it, I'd probably have Walt Frazier ahead of Patrick. But Patrick deserves to be on the list. But I don't have any issue where he's ranked also, Like, I'm fine. And now, I have it, again, going back to Scotty. Charles Barkley's 23. How are you telling me that Scotty's better than Charles Barkley? There's no way to me. There's someone won MVPs, one didn't.
I'll give you 6 reasons why.
Oh, here we go. All the argument I need.
How about Vince Carter is the number 55 greatest player of all time.
Vince Carter?
Vince Carter.
Because he's still playing. He's like Jay-Z. Like, he's still rapping. So
Vince Carter, the number 55 greatest player of all time. Paul Pierce, number 54. So really, when you think through when you think through history, I want you guys to put this in context.
What?
When you talk about the NBA and we talk about some of these past players, we have to make sure that we contextualize our conversation by, if we talk about the 08 Celtics and we talk about Paul Pierce, we have to then, make sure we have that hyphen in there. And, when you think about it, Vince Carter is pretty much just like Paul Pierce. It's like right under him, just right under him and right above Ray Allen, who is on the list following Vince Carter. I don't tend to think of myself as a person who thinks of the NBA lineage in that fashion. I don't think of, when I'm sitting down talking to people about NBA players, like, there's players that are, kind of like real similar in their position of like all-time greats. You got Paul Pierce, and then like right after him, Vince Carter, and then right after him, Ray Allen. That's not usually the progression of events for me. Because then I have to go further, and then as you go further down the line from Ray Allen, you get to like the Kembe Mutombo and Alex English, and I feel like the person I'm talking to will then say, well, I see that you just started watching basketball. You picked up some sort of local article and read through that and figured that you knew something. So I'm gonna discredit everything you're saying right now. I know, like Hurt said, I didn't watch Walt Frazier, Willis Reed, all of whom, for the viewing audience are behind Patrick Ewing. I didn't watch these people. And so maybe I can't make a classified argument for them, but I just think that this is a confusing list of criteria. And whether it's Hurt's position with Scotty, mine with Chris Paul and Vince Carter, I just,
wow, man.
I just don't understand. I don't understand what I'm looking at here. I've been scrolling. I don't even know where Karl Malone is, but
top 20.
He's in the top 20.
Yeah, Karl Malone, I believe is. Hold on, let me find him. I just saw him. Well, maybe he's not in the top 20.
Who's in the top 20?
Hold on. So you have 11 is Oscar Robertson, 12 is Olajuwon, 13 is Steph Curry. Ooh. I don't know about that.
Honestly, I think I got a problem with Steph being 13.
Yeah, I love
Durant.
I got KD. I got a problem with KD being 14.
Yeah,
I think it's too soon.
I do too, and I love Steph. I love Steph. But so I mean, Anthony Davis is above Dominique Wilkins. And George the Iceman Gervin. I'm not really seeing.
Where's AD at on this list?
Anthony Davis is the number 45 player of all time. He's cracked the 1997 greatest players of all time, the 50 list.
This is stupid. I can't get this list anymore. Anthony Davis didn't belong on this list, man.
Russell Westbrook. the number 42 greatest player.
Yeah,
of all
Russell's.
time.
Well, believe me, if you want to make Brian angry, talk about Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. When I think of greatest players of all time, I don't think of Russell Westbrook.
But he's got the triple doubles, man.
Yeah, well, Seth enlightened me on some of those triple doubles.
Yeah, well, yes, indeed. You know, me and Brian had a great conversation, and then I sent him a video about the fraudulency of the triple doubles, and taking nothing away from Russell because he is a good
the whole season. Listen,
but,
a couple of rebounds here and there.
Yeah,
still a whole to do it for a whole 2-3 seasons in a row. It's still tough.
It's tough, but made easier when your teammates move out the way for you, get the rebound. Made easier.
That's what teammates are for. They're not for punching. Right? They're there to help you get rebounds and help your stats. I'm confused.
Oh man,
just saying. Nothing wrong with that. That's a good teammate. But again, this list, honestly, 1 and 2, I actually am okay with. I'm fine with Michael Jordan being 1 and LeBron being 2, and everybody else can put whatever. It's just, again, lists are made up. If you want to do championships, then Bill Russell's number 1. But then they want to go by, well, look at his level of competition. Then I can say, well, somebody had to win, and he was the guy. Yeah. Jerry West lost all those games too, by the way. Yep. If Jerry West won all those rings, would they be like, well, I mean, what did he do back in the day? So again, it was Lakers Celtics, and the Lakers dominated that whole series. So he's got 11. But is it the eyeball test? Then that's where I come from. I can look and see. You can't stop MJ's fadeaway. Everybody knows that. But I've never seen an athlete who can lead the league in assists, who can score as many points and do what he's doing than LeBron. He was leading the league in assists this season. Mm-hmm. The dude's, 6'9", 6'10", tight end playing in the NBA, who can fly out the gym, who makes the right pass all the time, makes the smartest basketball play out there, can't shoot free throws for his life, but he's got everything else going for him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at everything, and that's just me looking at stuff. But if you're really seriously putting a whole list of like you were talking about the hip hop artists earlier, you can't sit here and seriously have modern day people just because you see him in the top 15, like Steph Curry, who hasn't been around that long. Yes, he's one of the greatest shooters of all time. I get that, but come on now, Steph, 13.
Yeah.
KD 14. If anything, how are we going to have KD behind Steph when KD's won MVPs and Finals MVPs on Steph's team? How is that possible? If that dude was winning the MVPs on Steph's team, how is Steph better than KD? Someone explain that to me.
We need the criteria. We need Bomani or somebody to be on here and let us know what was done for this list, because what wasn't done was research.
Bomani would have done a better job. Jalen Rose and Paul Pierce. Well, no, Paul Pierce would have put this list together because Jordan would have been 1, a Laker, a Kareem 2, Magic 3, Kobe 4.
Pierce would have been in the top 10 probably. You'd have been in the top 10 of all time.
Well, Pierce is better than LeBron. So, just give him a wheelchair. He'll wheel himself into the top 10.
Oh my goodness, man.
All right. So, all right, we all agree that this list isn't the best list, but not when Brian and I do movies, what's that website you go to, V?
Ranker.com.
Ranker.com. Which I think only of all the lists that they've ever done, and it's their job, they're called rankers. They rank things. They've gotten like 1 rank. Like they've gotten food, movies, television, everything has been incorrect on that whole thing. Except for I think it was Supervillain. What was that? It was one they actually got right. I can't remember. It might have been Supervillains or something.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, everything else was just straight garbage. I think their number 1 movie is something stupid like Titanic.
Oh man.
I had to bring up Titanic.
You know what, man?
All right, before we get too far off track, we've spent a lot of time on basketball, as we should, as we all. But let's get into: are we going to have a season? And if we're going to have an NBA season, what's it going to look like?
Man, I think they got to finish the season out, man. Like they got to figure out a way. I think there's a way to do this. I think if they could figure out something by July and then move the season to Christmas, just the start of the season to Christmas, I think they'll be able to get this in. I think they're going to really try hard to get this in, and I think as long as my whole thing is testing, right? I think the key to sports resuming is having enough tests where athletes can be tested on a consistent and quick basis, right? So as long as advances are made in the testing where you could do grants, you could do testing every day to make sure no one's infected and all that stuff. I think if you just keep the games, at a couple places where I think they're looking at Orlando right now for one place for the East, and what was it, Vegas for the West or something like that. I think it will work, but it's what, like 12 games left in the season, something like that. I think you could do it. I think they can get it done, but it's tough to say, man. I don't know.
I think. Go ahead, Seth. I'll wait for my. Go
ahead. Well, let me just say, I agree with Brian. I think it's difficult to say. I don't know how you handle a situation like that. I feel for both sides. I understand the players' desire to want to resume play. I get it as best as I can as a fan, but also as just a competitive person. I get it. And at the same time, that in of itself, everything Brian just described in terms of taking those protocols and everything is not guaranteeing that someone doesn't have the coronavirus right now, going undetected with no symptoms, and will not infect other NBA players or trainers or refs. And the list goes on. So that there are no guarantees. I guess with things like that, you kind of fall into the camp of, well, somebody's got to do something because you can't live scared. And I get that. But I don't know how to advise on that scenario. I would love to see the season resume. I don't think that it realistically will. And if it does, the problem then becomes the conditioning. I don't really want to watch the finale of the regular season with people getting gassed and not looking right. I mean, people are going to look. I mean, when we see people in our neighborhoods, as we go outside and we notice just how different people are looking, how different I look. Can you imagine what these NBA players are going to look like? I mean, some of whom you've seen on, online or whatever, but most of the league is not famous enough for you to even be able to encapsulate any of that. So you're going to be watching the game and you're going to I have no clue who that is. Who is that right there? Who is that? Who is checking in right now?
Yeah. Well, I think as professional athletes, that's what your job is. I'm not saying everybody's going to be in 100% shape, of course, but testing, of course, is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I think you get a couple of some little bit of exhibition games in there, let everybody get some, just scrimmages, whatever it is, to get their everything going again, just to get their competitiveness going and all those things. You got to have that actually happen for them to get on the court and have competition. Then do you finish the regular season? You can finish the regular season, but certain teams like Golden State shouldn't play. They need to stay home. Yeah. Literally, they got 2.5 wins. Certain teams, I think, when we come back, should already just be eliminated. And the teams that are close enough, say the Pelicans, certain other teams are close enough to maybe making it into the top 8, they should do that. So then you could have those teams. But why would somebody want to play? Why are you putting Steph out there? Why are you put those teams are eliminated? They're literally straight garbage. Any garbage team just needs to go. They just stay home. Steve Kerr already said, they're already in vacation mentality. I would be too if I won 15 games.
Yeah.
You're not feeling hard to come back. Steph's on a golf course. Steph's got something to do. So that doesn't. What does that mean? Why? So I would have the teams come back and they do a couple exhibitions, have those teams play, Pelicans making in only maybe 6 or 7 games because I know they were close to finish the regular season and just start the playoffs.
Right.
Now, are these teams all going to be in the same place? They could all be at Disney. That's another thing too. Now, the intriguing thing is, and of course, this is where I make Brian upset. So it's the fun part of the show. Since we're all here together, there's no traveling from east to west, and we're all underneath the same house. Why don't we just do 1 through 16 and get this baby going?
What?
Instead of the regular seeds, just
like a tournament?
Yeah. 1 through 16, no, just 1 through 16. Like you're seeing it 1 through 16.
Oh.
Like Milwaukee's, I think they got the best record right now.
Yeah.
So Milwaukee's 1, Lakers 2, Clippers 3, whatever. You rank it bottom top. Everybody's together. You don't need to. I'm just saying, just for this one season, try something different. Throw it to the wall. It's like spaghetti. You cook it, throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. If it doesn't work, you go back to we're not living in anything normal. You know what I want to see? Sports. I honestly kind of like with baseball coming back. You know how much I hate the DH. I'm a National League guy. The DH is the worst position because you don't own a glove. It's not real baseball. I can't stand it. But in this shortened season, I don't want pitchers getting hurt. Maybe they don't need a bat. Have a universal DH. Make everybody's life easier. I'm fine with that. But just for this season, they can vote on it after. I'm perfectly fine. For this NBA season, try something different. I just want it back. And if that works out, I'm fine with that.
What's the benefit of doing one? You just want to see something different just to be different?
You could try it.
Or is there a benefit to doing 1 through 16?
Well, you would have basically how it normally would work. You have more teams in the West make it because they're better than the East, and you have less garbage. You know what I'm saying? Because in all honesty, for the most part, everybody in the West has like a winning record usually, and the East has these garbage teams that are like 15 games under 500 making the playoffs. And it would be a little bit different if Milwaukee had to play. Or somebody had to, or if say the Lakers or the Clippers or whoever had to actually play a competitive first round against a team that deserves to be there.
I don't
get what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to change the playoff system unless there's a benefit. There's got to be some type of incentive or some type of reason to actually. You get what I mean? Like I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I
just because it's not travel. I guess you don't have to work like. You remember the NBA talked about this before.
You're saying keep all 16 teams in one spot. There's a designated playoff game per day.
Well, I don't think they're going back. I don't think LA, the whole thing they want to eliminate eventually with all these teams. It's like if Major League Baseball goes back to spring training, you can kind of drive or take a bus somewhere. You don't want the Lakers flying to Memphis. You get what I'm saying? Or Memphis flying here or Phoenix flying to Portland. I think you want to try to eliminate that. So I think whether it's Vegas or something, all these teams who are playing are going to be underneath or playing the same area. You get what I'm saying? I really do believe it's going to be – we don't have everybody taking these flights everywhere because we don't know how it's going to work out. And I know the NBA has talked about it before about seeding everything 1 through 16 no matter what conference it is. Because people have always complained a really good team in the West gets left out because – garbage makes it in the East.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's just something different. But this is the season. Just stick it. I'm not saying you got to stick with it. I don't care. But let's try something different. I just want to see it come back. And if that's the best way for it to work, I'm for it.
Okay.
I fear that if the NBA comes back this season and somebody wins the championship who, quote unquote, doesn't deserve it, then we've got this whole asterisk thing going on. And I don't really feel like hearing an argument about that. You guys might remember, back in like the early 2000s when people would talk about the Spurs' first title, that wasn't real because it was a locked-out season and blah, 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 blah. And then once the Spurs kept winning,
right,
then people invalidated their own argument about it was a fluke and blah, blah, blah. People just accepted that, the Spurs are great. But I don't want to see the NBA come back and then – like the Denver Nuggets win the title and none of us are satisfied. And then the first thing that you're really going to be tempted to say is, well, probably only won because everyone else was out of shape, not ready, not fully focused, not fully committed, had to deal with this, and so you're creating arguments as to why it's not real. And I just would rather that not be the case. I get the revenue, I get the passion, I get as a fan wanting to see it, but not at the risk of it being not to the standard, not to what it's supposed to be, or to people, of course, even above that, being exposed unnecessarily, and that's just a difficult thing for any league at this point, I think, to tackle. I've watched NASCAR, and I mean, it's not that much different when you watch it, except for the presentation where everyone's walking around with masks and no one's really standing all that close to each other, except like in the pit area, and even then you can tell they're taking certain precautions and everything like that. And this is race cars, not full contact sports like basketball or football or something like that, where the demand is you're going to have to be up on someone. Someone is going to scratch you. Someone is going to sneeze on the court. Someone's going to cough. Something's going to happen that's going to merit a pause where somebody's going to be like, oh, snap, what just happened? Am I okay? And then you're worrying more about all of that rather than the game that's taking place. Yeah, exactly.
You walk around somewhere, you're like,
man.
But watching German soccer, the Bundesliga, which is one of the earliest ones to come back. And I watch games every morning. It was Bayern Munich against Frankfurt this morning. I had Frankfurt. Brian's team, Bayern Munich, won 5-2. They're out there. They have the testing. Germany wasn't hit as hard as certain places, but they're out there fighting, scratching, guarding each other, so to speak. And they haven't had any positive tests yet come back or things like that, but they're doing their tests. So there's hope when places like that, and they field bigger team. There's 11 on the field at one time.
Right.
So, and you have, if you're on the bench, everybody's separated. There's no fans, of course. Everyone in the stands separated. So everything's going to look different. And being a fan of a team who won during a strike shortened season, everyone always tried to say Washington didn't deserve a championship in football because they won during a strike year. Well, there was a Super Bowl, right? And they won. And if they lost, another team would have won. It's still a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Nothing's going to look the same. Baseball is not going to play 162 games. So is someone going to complain that we only played 81 this year? I can't believe that. Or the Astros were back in the NL for this season, or whatever the case is. I don't care.
Right.
It's still, to me, the cream still should rise to the top, regardless, unless injuries or something like that happens. But I just want to listen. I think basketball needs to come back. Baseball needs to start. I definitely need college football. I'll lose my mind if I don't have my college football. I need all those things. Go ahead, B. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. Don't hold your breath on that one. That's to me. I don't know how they're going to start college football when these people, these athletes aren't professional. They're student athletes, and we don't even know if kids are going. I mean, schools are going.
When do they care about them being student athletes?
No, but hey, how are you going to have athletes playing and students aren't on campus? We don't even know if schools are going to be open, man. Like
Alabama don't care. Arkansas don't care. Texas A&M, Texas, they don't care. They want football, Brian. They want Tennessee.
Okay,
football. Okay, we can have them people sit there and do some remote learning, but we need balls on campus to train for football, Brian.
You ain't lying about that, but I don't know.
Football drives the NCAA. It drives schools. It's the revenue's too big.
Right. Schools.
That's if there's one conference that's going to play, it's going to be the SEC. I don't care who they have out there; they're going to have football.
Yeah,
it's going to be Auburn, Alabama. Maybe some weird looking waves, like two people in the stands, but they're both going to be fighting against each other if they're in different sides. That's what it is. So it's going to happen.
Well, I can tell you what we are going to get, guys. We're going to get some golf.
Oh, yeah.
In Vegas,
are y'all watching tomorrow?
Well, first of all, Woods, Tiger and Peyton against what's the other guy's name?
Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady.
Yeah, Phil and Tom. So Vegas, of course, has Tiger and Peyton as the favorites. So who are you putting your money on?
Well, first of all, you had me at Tiger, so I'm watching.
You had me at Tiger.
So
not Tiger King, but just Tiger Woods.
But no, Phil beat him the last time. I'm actually going to go with Phil Brady on this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have as you can see on my face, I have of about as much interest in this as I do in raking the leaves on my and my neighbors adjacent to me lawn. I love Tiger. I can watch pretty much most things Tiger. And then when you add in Phil Mickelson, I'm intrigued. But then when you add in Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, it just, I don't know. Maybe my opinion will change tomorrow, but I just feel like I'll be tuning in for something that the WWE put together and not something that the PGA is putting together. And and honestly, I don't know enough about how Tom Brady and Peyton Manning play. I've watched my fair share of celebrity bowling and celebrity golf, and to be honest with you, it ain't good TV. It ain't good TV. It ain't good. Watching Matt Barnes roll a gutter ball 2 times straight. It ain't good. Watching Charles Barkley.
Well, it's Matt Barnes. No,
I mean,
Charles Barkley golfing is TV.
I just can't stay in tune with it. So maybe I'll check it out. If I have to pick a winner, I'm actually going with Peyton and Tiger here. But I don't know. I'll do my best to follow it, but there's definitely no promises that I won't be playing Jeopardy on my iPad or doing something else instead. It has fallen way below in the ranks of priority on what I plan to do tomorrow.
I have to say though, but I'm actually, you're a Jeopardy fan though?
I'm a big Jeopardy fan.
Wow, see, I didn't know that. We actually have something in common. So, wow, that's 2 things. We both love LeBron and Jeopardy. That's great. Yeah, for this one tournament, I'm picking Phil. I'm picking Phil and Tom. I just, they have the momentum in themselves. No, but I'm going to watch it. It's going to be fun. I'm watching. Well, I mean, I love soccer anyway, but they had marble racing on earlier, like this morning. So it was
Stone
still
skipping 2 weeks ago. So
we're still and slippery stairs was on TV. So we're still kind of scrounging for things, but this is going to be way better than their last time that they had their little Phil versus Tiger anyway. That was straight garbage. So this is going to be, Peyton's going to make everybody laugh. It's going to be hilarious. There's going to be jokes.
That's true.
So I'm just there to see Tiger golf and laugh at the same time because I don't think I've ever seen it because he's always so serious.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't mind seeing him laugh and go out there. I'm going to watch, and plus it's free. So I do free. So I'm
those are all good points.
Yeah. So, yeah. But we'll see. You got anything else, B? No. We're way over our time limit here, but we got Seth on here, so we're good.
No, man. But other than that, I mean, we got a Memorial Day coming up, and guess take it easy. Try to have some type of normalcy. I guess this.
You're off Monday, aren't you?
Yeah, you're not off.
No, of course not. I work for a hospital.
Yeah, I'll be working as well on Monday. So
I'll be there at 7:00. Even though you're usually up at 4:30.
I'll be up already.
But everybody, thank you for tuning in. We're here on MYMD Podcast. Subscribe here on YouTube and click like. We appreciate that as well. And of course, we're also on every other podcast from Google Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple. Any place you find podcasts, you will find NYMD Podcast. And also we're on Facebook, IG, and on the Twitter at NY2MD Podcast. So everybody have a safe Memorial Day. Wear your masks when you go out. And remember, LeBron James is good at number 2. Thank you, Seth, for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week.
No doubt.